The NFL is an ever-changing league where teams can go from worst to first in a year by making a few moves, or from first to worst by doing something egregiously dumb. In today's video, we're going to discuss one move every AFC team should make this offseason to drastically improve their future and ultimately better their chances of getting to the Super Bowl in the long run. Now, before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we begin today's video in the AFC North with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow lost a good amount of his rookie season due to a torn ACL, and it's no secret he was getting battered around pretty good before that. This offseason, no matter what, they have to address their offensive line. They have a great young quarterback, and honestly good for them, because a lot of teams would kill to have Joe Burrow, but what good does that do to them if they can't keep him healthy? Next is the Cleveland Browns, and the decision they have to make is to get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. Odell is a good player, but he requires the offense to consistently get him touches and plays, and the Browns are not the place for him. Prior to Odell getting hurt in 2020, Baker had just 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and after Odell got hurt and didn't play, he finished the year with a 16-to-1 touchdown interception ratio over the final 10 games. Odell can be good somewhere else, but Cleveland needs to move on from him. The team's success and offensive success they had without him there, unfortunately for Odell, is no coincidence. The tough decision for Baltimore is one of two things. First, they need to address the offensive line. We saw how bad the center play was this year with the amount of trouble they had just snapping the ball consistently. And second, they need to get Lamar a true number one receiver, because at times they struggled to move the ball and the receivers they had in 2020 were not great. They need to go offensive line in the first round if a prospect is worthy of a pick, by the way, not just force a third round prospect to be their first round pick. Anyways, and in a deep receiver class, get one in the second round. The division champion Steelers are up, and the tough decision they're going to have to make is which receiver are they going to commit to for the next few years. Juju is a free agent, and Deontay will be one next year, and Chase Claypool won't be long after that. They will not be able to pay all three players, given the defensive players they have like TJ Watt, Minka, and Devin Bush all needing to get paid. But which receiver will they commit to, given they seemingly breed them year in and year out? Heading to the AFC South we go, and the Jags are up first. Now, I'm not going to say the obvious and say draft Trevor Lawrence, because that is all but set in stone, but what they need to do is not get him killed. They had the 5th lowest rushing yards in 2020 and gave up the tie for the 7th most sacks in the NFL. Trevor is a generational talent, but like Joe Burrow for the Bengals, what good does all that talent do if they can't keep him up and healthy? The Texans are now up, and this one is pretty obvious, but they desperately need to trade Deshaun Watson. He is very clearly unhappy, and that situation is a mess. And while they're doing that, they might as well trade JJ Watt too and hit a complete rebuild. This team is nothing short of a train wreck and need to acquire as many picks as they can for Deshaun and JJ in the process. Watson has made it clear he wants out of Houston, and what good would Houston be doing for him if they keep him around to get killed and win 4 games next year? Deshaun isn't a player that's a diva or anything like that, and you can't really blame him for wanting out of Houston given everything that has happened in the past few years. Indy is now up, and this one is pretty clear with the retirement of Phillip Rivers. They have a great core roster with players like Quentin Nelson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Darius Leonard, and more, by the way, but they need to find a new franchise guy. They have been linked to Carson Wentz due to him having his best season as a pro under then offensive coordinator and now Colts head coach Frank Reich, but will they trade for him, and that contract is another whole thing in itself. So what they need to do this offseason is find their next franchise guy and turn the page. Frank has had a very tough go, with Andrew Luck retiring unexpectedly and then was forced to bring in Phillip last year. So the Colts need to commit to their next quarterback this offseason, whoever that player is. Tennessee is now up, and they have to address their defense, and more specifically the pass rush. This is a team that won the division and went to the playoffs, and good for them, I'll add, because not everyone does, but they had the 3rd fewest sacks in the league and the 2nd lowest sack percentage, and they only had more sacks than the Bengals and the Jaguars. Tennessee gave up the 9th most points in the NFL and were the only playoff team to be in the bottom 10 of points given up. They also allowed a whopping 36 passing touchdowns against them, which was 2nd most in the league behind only Detroit. And while having a pass rush isn't everything, it is a good start to something they desperately need to fix, and that's their defense. Their offense is fantastic, and I can't compliment it enough, as they nearly had a 2,000-yard rusher and 2 1,000-yard receivers, which they had the 2,000-yard rusher, but the 2 1,000-yard receivers they did not have. But with a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel, they need to figure things out on that side of the ball. Now we go to the AFC East to discuss the Jets. This could be a whole video in itself, but what they must do this offseason is either commit to Sam Darnold or commit to the next signal caller they select at number 2 overall. If they choose to protect Darnold and draft Penny Sewell, then good for them, go that route if that's your thing. But if they choose to draft Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or whoever, then they 100% cannot do the exact same thing to them with what they did to Sam Darnold, which was give him no help, give him a terrible head coach, and expect him to succeed because, not surprisingly, Darnold hasn't thrived to his fullest potential yet. Also, side note, I love the Robert Saleh hire, and he is hundreds if not thousands of miles better than Adam Gase, so I wasn't suggesting he was a bad hire or anything like that. Now is New England, and this is a process, but they have to commit to a rebuild. Cam Newton was clearly not the answer, and they missed the playoffs for the first time in years in 2020. Whether they want Bill Belichick to lead the rebuild is something else, as he is 68 and will be 69 at the start of next season, so if it is a different direction the Patriots want to go, then I would understand. But they need to commit to a full rebuild because their offense was awful in 2020, and that's not limited to just Cam Newton, as he had absolutely nobody to throw the ball to. Miami is up, and there's really two things they have to do. One, decide if Tua is the long-term answer, because remember, they have been tossed around in the Deshaun Watson trades, and obviously with that, Tua would go to Houston and Deshaun would go to Miami. But the other decision they have to make is they have to get a true number 1 receiver. They, at this point in time, have the number 3 overall pick, and Jamar Chase will be there, and so will Devontae Smith. Who they choose, or if they even have that pick due to what would be a Deshaun Watson trade, are major franchise decisions that they have to make in the next few months. The Bills are next, and this is very simple. Pay Josh Allen whatever he wants. He has improved every year since being drafted back in 2018, and his peak so far is a 46 total touchdown year with a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and if you watch this after Championship Sunday, then maybe even win a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes received a $500 million contract last offseason, and who knows what Josh will get this year. But whatever it is, just suck it up and pay him, Buffalo, because he is the real deal, and him and Stephon Diggs will only grow together over the next few years. Pay Josh Allen. I cannot stress this enough. The final division is now the AFC West, and we start with Denver. The decision they have to make is to get a franchise quarterback. Drew Lock is, at least in my opinion, not that guy, and John Elway has proven yet again he cannot draft a quarterback. So what the Broncos should do this offseason is trade for Matt Stafford. Stafford is a veteran quarterback who could possibly be on his way out of Detroit, and with a new head coach and new general manager in the Motor City, meaning Stafford's trade value being at an all-time low, now is the time for John Elway and the Broncos to capitalize and go get their next quarterback. The Chargers are up, and there's a lot of ways we could go about this given they have a new head coach and will be returning a bunch of players from injury. But what they have to do this offseason is they have to keep building around quarterback Justin Herbert. He is a great player and has more than shown flashes in year 1, and he is their next franchise quarterback at this point in time. Transitioning from Phillip to Herbert was a great transition indeed, and their next goal is to do something with Justin that they didn't do with Phillip, and that is win a Super Bowl. Justin will not always be on the short rookie contract with the franchise-friendly financial situation that is, and they have to build around them while they still can. Second to last is the Raiders, and what they have to do this offseason is they have to get better on defense. Not just one area, but the whole side of the ball. They gave up the 3rd most points in the NFL in 2020 with nearly 30 per game, and they gave up the 8th most yards in the entire league. They had the 4th fewest sacks in the NFL, and this is a place where they have to get better. They cannot expect Derek Carr to turn into Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers and throw for 52 touchdowns and lead the Raiders to miraculous win after miraculous win every single week, because it's not going to happen, and because of that, they have to get better defensively this offseason. And the final team we discuss is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is tough because everyone widely knows how good they are, but what they have to do this offseason, and this is nitpicking, I'm going to go ahead and say that, but find a true defensive end to play next to Chris Jones. They have everything on the offensive side of the ball, and we know that, but going after a true pass-rushing defensive end is something they haven't had in a few years. Frank Clark hasn't been a true dominant player since being traded, and that is more than fair to say. But again, this is nitpicking because they are such a good team. They went 14-2 and were really 14-1 before the final week of the year, and they have loads of talent everywhere, and there's really not a lot of weaknesses on this roster. They are the defending champions for a reason, and as I record this Saturday afternoon, they could very well go back to back. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. This was a change of pace type video, but if you enjoyed, let me know in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe. It helps a ton. It helps more than you know, and your support, you watching, helps me a lot, and I would very much appreciate that. Now, that's all I have. I will see you guys next time. I'm going to try to get a few videos out next week, but I have some personal things going on. But anyways, I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.